the first-person shooter, a niche that I myself have found to be ever increasingly lacking in innovation and new and exciting releases to get excited over. I had mostly given up on the genre until the announcement of a not-so-little series getting a next full installment, and that was Doom Eternal. As someone who played through Doom 2016 and enjoyed it quite a good bit, there was a good chunk of me that was excited for Eternal, but at the same time wondered just how id Software could improve on an already fantastic action shooter. Well, it surely didn't take long to realize this not only was more enjoyable to me than 2016 in every single aspect, but quite possibly the greatest first-person shooter of all time. And over the past 2 years, my love for this game and the community around it has only grown since. And I truly do believe that this is not only the greatest shooter ever produced, but one of the very great video games of at least the past decade. And why is this? Well, it comes down to a few main reasons, the strongest of which being id Software's brilliant innovation and creativity that make Doom Eternal truly redefine the first-person shooter. And that is what this video is focused on, showcasing what makes Doom Eternal unique, special, and how this game has stayed so relevant even 2 years later. The gunplay and combat loop in Doom Eternal is so far above and beyond what I've experienced in any video game to date. From how you progress and advance throughout the campaign, the overall speed boost compared to 2016, and the sheer amount of variety in approaches and customization to suit your preferred playstyle truly make this the most satisfying combat I have ever experienced. And once you gather that rhythm and start to get into the groove, it really does feel like a dance, the Doom dance. Starting with that advancement throughout the campaign, your journey as the Slayer starts off really quite tame, with just a single weapon, no ability to dash, limited health, armor, and ammo capabilities, and this is very much done on purpose. Doom Eternal is all about learning, and to chuck you in at the start of the game with every single tool available to you at your disposal would be far too much for most people to take in at once. But the brilliant thing about this is just how well that it was executed. You very slowly start to learn each new combat tool to you within the first few levels of the game, with quick little tutorials for each one, allowing the player to get some experience with each individual tool before learning the next. The perfect example of this would be the Flame Belch and Ice Bomb. Flame Belch being especially a crucial component of this game's combat loop, allowing you to regain armor by using the shoulder-mounted flamethrower. Now a little while once you've got the experience with the Flame Belch, the game starts with the tutorial for the Ice Bomb, allowing you to freeze enemies in place for a small period of time. The beauty about this is that both of these tools are so perfectly intertwined, so once you have some experience, you can combine the two by first freezing an enemy with the Ice Bomb, and then immediately using the Flame Belch in order to take advantage of a large group of enemies frozen at once, giving you a massive boost in armor and a lot less enemies to deal with all at once. This is how Doom Eternal rewards you. If you pay attention to what the game teaches you from the very start, your journey to save humanity becomes a million times easier. Whereas if you just ran around treating this game like haha big gun go boom boom simulator, you are really going to have a difficult time when it gets to the later stages of the game. The Doom Dance gets much more complex as you continue to advance, however, with new techniques such as dash, allowing you to have a really quick boost of speed to really quickly get into and out of a tricky combat situation. Dash can combine well with Blood Punch, a mechanic that allows a very powerful melee attack that charges with glory kills of demons, which I'll get into in just a second. Allows you to really learn with the Doom Dance. It wants you to be very up close and aggressive. Glory kills are another example of this. Once an enemy gets their health depleted, they will enter glory kill state, allowing the player to perform a special execution which rewards you with a large health bonus, hence rewarding your effort to remain up close and personal. To go alongside all of the tools available to you, you also have some of the most satisfying weapons in FPS history. Each one serves a purpose, where in Doom 2016 you could basically choose whatever favorite or favorite 2 weapons and just use them throughout the entire game. Eternal makes you use all of your arsenal, whether directly by having a smaller ammo capacity than in 2016, helping you use that variety of weapons just for the sake of the low ammo situations, but also because certain enemies just have weaknesses to specific weapons, like the Kako Demon, where if you use either the sticky bomb attachment for the combat shotgun or the frag grenade launcher, and you launch a grenade directly into its mouth, it will immediately enter glory kill state. Or the Doom Hunter, for example, where both blood punches and the plasma rifle are very effective in their first stage. And then you can finish them off with a tasty lock-on burst from your rocket launcher to seal the deal. And each weapon mod is upgradable through weapon points, which are just unlocked by playing throughout the campaign. Now, I've mentioned attachments before. How do they help with the Doom Dance? Well, the majority of weapons in Eternal have 2 mod slots, allowing you to choose between 2 different special fire modes, which can be switched on the fly. And every single weapon attachment serves a purpose and has their own perfect scenario in combat. This got even better with Doom Eternal's 2 story DLCs, which I will be covering towards the tail end of the video. Just to make the combat experience so much more rewarding, the Slayer himself is upgradable through both Sentinel Crystals and runes. Sentinel Crystals can be found throughout levels, rewarding those who go exploring for secrets by allowing you the choice of health, armor, or ammo capacity boosts. Runes add in another excellent example of player choice, allowing you to choose 3 special abilities or perks to boost the Slayer's combat prowess. For example, you could have Saving Throw, which gives you one final chance at life by giving you a small amount of time where you would have initially died to regain some health and get back into the fight. Or Blood Fueled, giving the Slayer a massive speed boost just after a glory kill is performed, allowing you to really quickly get out of a close call or just ride the adrenaline rush of speed. Or if you want to be a little different, you could get something like Air Control, giving you so much more precise control of the Slayer in the air when compared to having the rune unequipped. Outside of the combat loop, I have to mention the pure speed enhancement compared to Doom 2016. The introduction of Dash really transformed this game, and that alongside attachments like the meat hook allow you to use an element that I myself never really used in Doom 2016, and that was the air. Aerial combat here is not super easy when you get started, but god is it ever satisfying when you get it. The combination of each and every one of these aspects results in some of the most addicting gameplay I have ever experienced, and really mastering every single aspect of the Doom Dance is not something a new player can likely do on their first playthrough. I know with myself, it took a long while to really get into the groove, and I still wouldn't even consider myself in the expert league of players. Being unique is not something that most first-person shooters these days strive for. Most of them go for relatively realistic and safe art styles just for the sake of being the most realistic shooter out there. Luckily for us all, Doom obviously doesn't have to play by these rules. One of my personal dislikes of Doom 2016 was its very dingy and dark color tone, and because of its setting, it had nowhere near as much variation as I would have liked it to. It very much fit the theme of the game, but it just wasn't to my taste. But here comes Eternal, one of the best looking games I have ever played in terms of sophistication in design, the vast and vibrant color palette, and clever and innovative technology that just proves id Software's tremendous talent. Let's start with just how drop-dead gorgeous these levels are. Every single level looks, feels, and plays entirely unique. From the very first level, Hell on Earth, seeing the destruction, the warfare between the demons and humans, with the entirety of the city we're in a state of pure destruction. With broken mechs, collapsed titans, fire, the structure of the earth itself in disarray. It really is a spectacle to take in. But the variety that this journey takes is what draws me into this game every time I play it. With levels like the Cultist base, set in a snowy, industrial base, with all sorts of neat machinery and traps for you to use. And this is the same level which also leads you into the Doom Hunter base, which I will be getting into in the campaign section of this video. Then for a little more green, we have levels like Taurus Nabad and Exultia, to bring in that plant life and vegetation that mixes up your environments beautifully. And speaking of beautiful, we have Urdak, a level that I think most people never expected to see in a game like Doom, but good god is it ever pretty. And major shout out to the skyboxes, especially in this level, because they are some of the best I've seen in any video game. But for those who enjoy that hellish, more Doom 2016-like approach, you have levels like Necroval, with a Titan right on display right as you make your way to the center of hell. I haven't even mentioned all of the levels, or even any of the DLC ones, but each one is so well crafted and special, and really rewards repeat playthroughs a lot more than the relatively repetitive Doom 2016. But that's just levels. This game has so much more than that to separate it from the rest. I mentioned the weapons earlier in terms of sophistication in playstyles and customizability, but just look at them. The super shotgun with its beautiful new engravings on the side and grotesquely awesome new meat hook attachment. Or the ballista with its rotating center power structure and the expanding side bolsters is just wicked. And the Slayer's crucible, powered by the energy of hell itself. A fitting tool for the Slayer's arsenal. Now, weapons are cool and all that, but they are nothing if you don't have even cooler demons to kill them with. And that, this game has in spades. Your main fodder demons, as they're called, basically just exist to provide you with means for health, armor, and ammo, while you tackle the heavy and super heavy demons in the arena. But that doesn't mean that they aren't cool themselves. Consisting of demons like the Soldiers, who were redesigned for Eternal to look more like their classic counterparts from Doom 2. And the one that I personally love to hate, the Gargoyles. These on their own are zero challenge whatsoever. But when you really get into some of the large and packed arenas in low health situations, they can become little flying nuisances and really have that ability to sneak up on you if you aren't paying close attention. But when we get into the heavy demons, things really start to step up. The Mancubus, again, redesigned for Eternal, is a much larger threat than ever before, with a hazardous zone it leaves on the ground if you get too close, as well as its arm-mounted cannons. Another demon brought back from Doom 2 was the Arachnotron, with a really menacing industrial mechanical approach to his design, which I love. These guys are a threat early on, until you master their weak points, and then they just become a piece of cake. A new demon for Eternal, the Whiplash, is a new twist in an arena. She is fast, nimble, and doesn't take up a lot of space, so can be a real threat if you don't know what you're doing. Super heavy demons, one tier below the bosses in Doom Eternal. Let's start with the Archvile, shall we? I hate the Archvile. In a good way, of course. I'm a big fan that id Software chose to keep him quite similar to his classic Doom approach, and didn't change him visually that much, so that is a fantastic throwback. But he is a pain to deal with, unless you play like me and leave some BFG ammo aside for Archviles at all times. The Baron of Hell, one of the largest common enemy types in Doom Eternal. They seem threatening at first due to their sheer size and ominous design, but once you learn to keep your distance and just SSG Ballista combo them, they really do start to lose some of their intimidation factor. Speaking of intimidation, however, the Tyrant is up next, by far the largest demon in Eternal, and I mean, just look at him, dude's badass. But that's about all he's got going for him. Unless you get trapped in a really small location with a Tyrant, their slow movement speed and surprisingly low health don't make them that much of a threat in this game, in most circumstances of course. Now there are a few more really special demons that I'm going to cover in specific places in the campaign mode that are missing here, so keep that in mind for the later sections of the video. All of these demons are fantastic, but one revolutionary technique id Software brought into Doom Eternal was destructible demons. Each demon has multiple states of destruction that it goes through as their health depletes, allowing you to get an idea of their state of damage without needing a health bar, apart from bosses of course. This mechanic, combined with weak points and other specific weaknesses each demon has, means that not only does every demon look unique, but each and every one plays different and has their own technique for mastering the battle between the Slayer and them. The single-player campaign mode is the reason that 99% of people play Doom. It's guaranteed to be action-packed, over-the-top, absurdly challenging at points, and a hell of a good time. And Eternal checks all of these boxes and more. And while it may not have the most deep story in all of gaming, that's alright. Because most people who play Doom just want to shoot big guns at demons until they drop. And for those Doom fans like myself, who are interested in all of the lore, this game does something really quite special for us, which I will explain in just a second. Now I'm going to put a warning right here, that from this point on in the video there will be major spoilers for both the main campaign, as well as both DLC expansions later on. But be aware that knowing the story before playing won't really detract from the experience, as, well, these games are all about gameplay anyways. So final spoiler warning, over now. Doom Eternal's campaign starts off with one of the most blood-pumping, adrenaline, and hype-inducing introduction cutscenes in all of video game history, introducing you to the main plot of Doom Eternal. Earth is in peril because of demonic corruption, and you are in charge of saving it. Not a revolutionary concept here, but with how this cutscene portrays the Slayer, the build-up as you get your gear set up and set up the portal all before that final drop. The fact that id Software chose to use Mick Gordon's reimagining of the original E1M1 theme is just fantastic. It shows that Doom really does care about its lineage and history, but at the same time wants to keep it in the modern era. Hell on Earth. Our first mission starts us off on our journey to find and kill the first of 3 Hell Priests, which are hosting a ritual for the gathering of human souls on Earth to fuel the creation of Argent energy. This opening level is a lot more challenging than the first level in Doom 2016, to really set the tone that Eternal is not messing around, with arachnotrons and cacodemons all in the first half an hour. It wants you to learn the combat loop fast, and it is not afraid to punish you for your mistakes. A move that a lot of players who pick this game up for the first time may find frustrating, but trust me, this is in your best interest. You find the first Hell Priest and just casually decide his head is now yours, thank you very much sir, and use this to access the demonic citadel, where the other 2 Hell Priests are still working on completing the ritual. We also meet the Khan Maker, the supreme ruler of Urdak, and the main antagonist of Doom Eternal, who of course tries to get Doomguy to stop his mission and tries to get into his head regarding his past with him, which of course does not work. After Hell on Earth, we are off to continue the search for the second Hell Priest, and to locate him, we will need to upgrade the Fortress of Doom's Celestial Locator. I'll mention the Fortress of Doom here quickly. I am a huge fan of this new center base that allows Eternal to have such a great spot for some downtime in between missions, where you can upgrade the Slayer, unlock new skins, view your collectibles, and even play Doom 1 and Doom 2 in their entirety on Doomguy's computer. A lovely little touch. Fortress of Doom aside, we head over to the city of Exultia, and specifically the abandoned palace of King Novik, which has the Celestial Locator right in it. We hear from King Novik, who tells the Slayer that he cannot kill the Hell Priests because they are of Sentinel blood, and that it would be against tradition. But Doomguy doesn't exactly play by the rules now, does he? So he straight up takes a portal straight to Hell to meet with the Betrayer, who upgrades our Celestial Locator, but also warn us to consider King Novik's warning, as he doesn't want the Slayer to suffer the fate of the Betrayer's lost son. With the Celestial Locator acquired, we locate the second Hell Priest in the Arctic Cultist base, where Doom Eternal takes its first slight jump in difficulty. You get introduced to the Mancubus and Whiplash here, who really start to push you in your arena skills, as by this point in time you're probably just getting started to be comfortable with all of the previous enemy types. But Doom Eternal doesn't want you to get comfortable. There is always room to push you. And speaking of pushing you, once you fight your way through the cultist base, we take a train deep into the heart of where our second Hell Priest has been creating the ultimate foe for the Slayer, the Doom Hunter base. One of the coolest parts of this mission is slowly seeing the Doom Hunter himself be constructed section by section as you fight your way to the eventual first real boss battle of this game. The slow build-up for this battle is really what makes it hit so hard when it finally happens, and it makes the fight so much more rewarding when you finally defeat— oh shit, you gotta fight 2 of them. This is why I love this game so much. You never know what it's going to throw at you, and therefore have to at all times be prepared for anything. And a little side note here, after this, Doom Hunters just become standard enemies in the arenas, so the boss battle was just an introduction to them, and I love that Doom Eternal does this. Second Hell Priest down, and it's time to gear up before heading straight to the center of the demonic invasion on Earth, the Super Gore Nest. This level is grotesque in a strangely encapsulating way. From the opening shot of Earth in pure disarray, to the Gore Nest itself and just flesh all over the place. It's a really different level, and I'm going to cover the music of this game a lot more in depth after I'm done the campaign. But the Super Gore Nest has one of the most adrenaline pumping tracks in the entire game that plays in this first arena. Take a listen. Just perfection. Now, once you've destroyed the beating heart in the center of the gore nest, the demonic invasion of Earth has been slowed down dramatically. But you still must continue on your journey to find and kill the final Hell Priest. To do so, we start by talking to Vega about finding and questioning Samuel Hayden from his base at the Ark Complex. If there was one mission that I wasn't a complete fan of in Doom Eternal, it would be this one. The aesthetic is great, but it drags for way too long. And some of the mission segments with the turrets just feel a bit wasteful for me. But it redeems itself hardcore at the final segment. When we find Samuel Hayden, Doom Guy carefully extracts him from where he was being kept, and then we get my favorite mini-boss introduction of all time. I'll let you enjoy this one. The Marauder. He is by far my favorite demon in the entire game. Marauders are so much fun to fight. While the entirety of the enemy catalog wants you to get up close and aggressive, the Marauder is a fantastic twist on this, teaching you to be patient and wait for the exact moment to strike and to keep your distance. He demands your full attention in an arena. He is designed to be just like the Slayer, fast, precise, and fueled by utter hatred. He is a fantastic addition to the game, and people complained that this guy was too difficult. Anyways, Ark Complex over and Samuel Hayden obtained. He just spits out the location of the third and final Hell Priest out with no delays whatsoever, and we have to figure out some sort of way to get into the center of Mars. Ah, God, I love this game. After a bit of tomfoolery with the BFG 10,000 and some platforming on Mars, we end up at the location for our final Hell Priest, Sentinel Prime. Sentinel Prime is probably one of the most unique missions in the whole game. It's very short, and if you aren't interested in the story of this game, it's going to seem a bit tedious. At least the first part of it, that is. That same first half of this mission is just a giant lore dump about Doomguy's origins. And also throughout the Codex entries, we learn that the Khan Maker has been taking advantage of the Night Sentinels in order to access Hell. Why is the Great Khan Maker one of the Angels' leaders trying to contact Hell? She is looking to become immortal, and in her search, learns that Argent Energy, which the Hell Priests are using humans to extract for, may possibly give her this. So the Khan Maker betrays the Angels and sides with the Hell Priest. This, of course, does not make Doomguy happy. But he can't focus on that just yet. It's time to face the Gladiator and defeat the final Hell Priest. This boss fight almost gives me glorified Marauder vibes. You have to wait for the right time to strike, and at the same time, be very careful of the Gladiator's attacks, as he is no slouch. Side note, and really neat touch about this fight. Throughout the fight, while this badass boss theme is playing, you can hear a chant of Karen Tuk, which translates to rip and tear. Sound familiar? Well, these chants are for the Slayer. So this boss theme isn't for the Gladiator. It is your boss theme. God, I love Doom. Gladiator down, it is time to... Oh, okay, that's done. A quick trip back to the Fortress of Doom shows that the Khan Maker, in her anger that the Earth's invasion has been stopped, has taken over full power of your ship, and on top of that, threatens to awaken the Icon of Sin. After a quick fight in the Fortress of Doom, we need to go retrieve the Slayer's Crucible from the ancient city of Taras Nabad, as the Crucible is the only tool with the power and capability to keep a Titan like the Icon of Sin incapacitated. After reclaiming your Crucible, it is time to start our hunt to get to Urdak, find the Khan Maker, and stop her from awakening the Icon of Sin. And of course, to get to Urdak, we have to go through the center of literal hell, Necroval. This is where Doom Eternal really levels up in difficulty, as you have every single one of your tools unlocked, likely have upgraded Doomguy to be an absolute weapon of mass destruction. So the game just decides, might as well throw everything at you all at once, to really make sure that you've been learning throughout the whole game. Fighting your way through Necroval leads us to the portal to the beautiful Urdak. I mentioned before just how much I love how good this level looks, but I mean, damn does it look good. But no time to waste on pretty graphics. The icon of sin is mid-resurrection. And, thanks, Doom Guy. And with the icon of sin freed, it's time to wrap this game up by taking, of course we gotta fight you too. This battle is very important for the lore of the ancient gods, Doom Eternal's story DLC, as by taking out the Khan Maker, the holy seal that stops demons from invading Urdak is completely broken. Fantastic work, Doom Guy. After taking the portal to Earth and fighting through the most intense arenas in the entire game, it is time for the ultimate showdown. This game is badass. This boss fight is not easy. The Icon of Sin is a challenge on his own, but combine an arena full of heavy demons and him, it is a really tough fight, especially on higher difficulties. But that satisfaction afterwards is priceless, and that is Doom Eternal's thrilling campaign. This is a damn solid action shooter campaign, but it really isn't for the faint of heart. But those who it is for will absolutely adore it. Now, Doom has always been known for its soundtrack, and this was taken to the extreme and then some, with both Doom Eternal and then its DLC. And it's a tricky one too, because Eternal's soundtrack was divided into two separate parts. The first bit for the entire base game was done by Mick Gordon, the legendary composer for Doom 2016. The DLC and beyond was all composed by both David Levy and Andrew Hochschild. This is a surprisingly debated topic in the Doom fanbase for, quote, who did a better job, which to me kinda just defeats the point of these games having banger soundtracks no matter who composed them. So let's first just go over the base campaign soundtrack before I get into the Ancient Gods. Mick Gordon's heavy industrial style is in full swing here, with a slight bit more of a focus on guitar than in 2016, which had a really good mix of electronic music in there as well. The thing that Mick excelled at in Eternal was creating one main riff for each song that just sticks in your head and you cannot forget it. And rather than listen to me babble on about them, I think it'd be best if you listen for yourself. So take a listen to a few of my favorite sections for Doom Eternal's main campaign. Certainly gets the blood pumping now, doesn't it? Now, not only is this soundtrack just badass, it is a damn impressive feat from Mick Gordon. Over 3 hours worth of music in a game which is only roughly 8 to 10 hours long is madness, and it really goes to show Mick's talent. Now, as I've mentioned before, the soundtrack is kinda split into two bits, with that last bit composed by David and Andrew having fresh, brilliant takes on Doom music. I'm not one to lead into the which is better fight, as I think each one has their strengths and weaknesses, but I do prefer the style that the duo brought into the Ancient Gods and beyond. There was a big switch in terms of the enjoyability of the songs in the Ancient Gods as well. While I love base campaign soundtrack, some of the songs just don't hit as hard as others to me. Yeah, and I don't feel this way at all when it comes to both DLC soundtracks. Each level's OST feels perfectly crafted and fits the mood and theme of each one individually. Let's just show you my favorites from the Ancient Gods, except for one big one. And again, it's probably best you take a listen for yourself. is one song in particular which deserves a section to it on its own, and that would be the final boss theme for the Ancient Gods Part 2. This one hits really hard if you are a long-term Doom fan, because while the boss battle progresses, it gradually goes through Doom's musical history with modern takes on some of our favorite classics. Take a listen for yourself. I cannot say enough fantastic things about David and Andrew's work on the Ancient Gods soundtrack, and it really does put a smile on my face, knowing that these two will be responsible for the entirety of the next Doom game soundtrack. Releasing a top-tier game that lives up to the hype is one thing, but to make a game that has the potential to stay relevant for years in the making, and then expand upon it and build on the already existing gameplay elements, and then add entirely new game modes as the game goes on, and have all of that remain consistently on an upward swing of excellence, is an exceedingly difficult task. Let's start with the relevancy of this game. Doom Eternal is one of very few games these days that is actually more complex and difficult than its predecessor, going against the typical mindset of making games easier and more accessible for beginners. It's a tricky thing, but I'm all for it, as there really isn't that many games that actually go for this in this day and age. And it's more than just that. The amount of new content to keep existing players logging on, but also attract new people to the game, has been a staggering improvement over Doom 2016. Let's start with the Ancient Gods, shall we? Both of these expansions were mind-bendingly good. If you wanted more story, you got it. And if you thought the base campaign was difficult, the Ancient Gods looked at you and goes, oh yeah? Because this is some of the most fun I have had, trying to really test yourself, pushing your limits to finally beat the Ancient Gods on higher difficulties is really a tough thing to do. And one thing I really did enjoy is that the story is a lot more in focus here. In fact, I don't even know if I want to spoil any of it for those who haven't played it yet, because it is a damn great experience. One thing that both parts of the Ancient Gods did was be consistent 10 out of 10 at all times. I didn't feel any pacing issues here, and the polish and quality of the levels were so much stronger than base campaign. And overall, I just find the Ancient Gods to have been a much more enjoyable experience than the already phenomenal campaign. Hence, why I don't want to spoil any bits of it, because it really is an experience you have to have. And apart from the Ancient Gods comes the little addition over time, such as the Master levels and Horde mode. Master levels are only for the most advanced Doom players, taking an existing level and amplifying the difficulty and arena and demon variety to an entirely new level of madness. And then we have Horde mode, which is the most old school arcade feeling rush you may ever experience, full of power-ups and all new combinations of demons to fight through waves. It is a ton of fun and a mode that the Doom fanbase has been requesting for quite a long time now. Everything here leads Doom Eternal to still remain in the forefront of action shooter games, and probably will continue to do so for a long, long time. It's not often for a game to release and be so far ahead of everyone's already high expectations, but id Software knows how much these games matter to us. You listen to Hugo or Marty talk about Doom, and they sound so passionate about these games, because they're just like you and me, Doom fans. They aren't all corporate and numbers focused. They just love making and playing masterful games. And this is why this game is how it is. The entire team at id truly cares, and it worked out brilliantly for them. This game has sold exceedingly well, and now with the partnership between Bethesda and Xbox, the sky's the limit for Doom. And what this all leads me to wonder now is, what's next? Basically, the only critique I have of Eternal is it's so good I can't think of any ways to improve it. But if there's anyone who I can put full confidence in doing it right, it's the fantastic team at id. And I doubt anyone at id is watching this, but on the off chance that someone is, to Hugo, Marty, and each and every one of you at id Software, thank you so much for being some of the absolute, if not the best, in the business. I speak for all of us when I say, I cannot wait to see what you have for us all next.